All right, guys, I want to get into this video here. So, everybody's reacting to the Diddy verdict, and it is what it is, guys. You can see it from a mile away that he was going to get off. They really didn't have a strong case at all, and once they started releasing the text messages and, he started finding out more information about the case and this and that, it seemed like more like it was consensual, and she was in on it just as much as he was. So, but you got all these feminazis and these feminists and stuff like that. They're all crying. Oh my God, Diddy should be executed. He's a horrible human being. Like, okay, I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm just saying they didn't have a strong case at all, right? So now he might be, doing two to 5 years max. I would say, that people are saying they're going to give him the full 10. I doubt it. I think that the feds just don't really want to look bad, so they have to give him some time, because the feds don't lose, right? So. Let's get into this clip here. Interesting interaction between Young Jock and Sammy the Bull. Let's get right into it.
And Salvatore Gravano, better known as Sammy the Bull, a former underboss in the Gambino crime family, who knows more about RICO cases than probably any man alive. Well, welcome to both of you, both making your uncensored debuts. I appreciate it. Young Jock, let me just get your reaction, first of all, to this verdict.
I kind of felt that it could play out in this way. Once some of those stories started not really adding up, they weren't properly corroborated between Cassie and some of the other people involved, and the way some of them changed up. And then with you having on, what was the guy's name who was the Punisher? Yeah. Like, he was supposed to be there for Cassie's behalf, basically. And it sounds like they asked him to be as clean and cut as possible and don't add too much, don't take away. And it seems like it hurt their case. Yeah. Because he basically said, hey, man, this time she called me and, and the other girl was calling and tipping me and doing, it's kind of like, well, to make it seem as if I'm forced to be here and you setting up the plays, it just seems to me like it didn't play out well. But it played out well for Diddy. It didn't play out well for prosecution.
But from what you saw of Diddy and Cassie Ventura, are you happy with this verdict, or do you think he's got away with something here where he did have a controlling relationship with her?
No, I mean, listen, let's be honest. When you talk about consenting adults, there's too many times that I was with Cassie and Diddy. My ex-wife's birthday party one year, we were in Miami, and I pulled up to Diddy's house in a 100-foot yacht, you know what I'm saying? He's like, me and Cassie, we in the house, you and your wife want to come in and kick it. We came, kicked the jet skis, kicked it or whatnot, and that's the night, and just to clean it up, the way you introduced me, I never saw any abusive behavior towards Diddy. And this is what's interesting. When this case first took off, the minute the lawsuit dropped, I was just on Vlad TV, and I was talking about the moment we were in Miami, the night that I'm speaking of, while being there with Diddy and Cassie and my wife and other friends and other celebrities. And all I made reference to is the influence he had over the culture. That's all I was speaking of, because he saw a white woman in the club who I saw him notice. I was like, what is he doing? Because he stopped in mid everything. And he jumps down, he comes to tell Cassie, hey, I want you to shave the side of your head. Now, I thought that was crazy. Yeah, I was like, what? Why would you do that? And then she said to me, whatever Sean wants, Sean gets. And after that, it's like that was the perfect time for them to drop the whole
But that's very interesting.
Lawsuit.
That's very interesting what you're saying, because I think what you're saying is that it may have been mischaracterized as being a non-consensual thing, that he was, forcing her to do this, but that she was happy to do it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not like he said, hey, get over here and grab her by the neck, cut your hair off tomorrow. No, he said, baby, yo, I just saw something really dope. Tomorrow, he was enthused, he was hyped. We was having a good time, we was partying. He's like, my ex-wife was sitting right here, Cassie's sitting on this side of me, the rest of the crew, we kicking it. And he said, I think it'll be really dope. I just want you to shave the side of your head. And she was like, shave the side of my head? He's like, yeah, it's gonna be big, trust me. And she said, okay. And he walked back, got back on we went and lived. He jumped back on it's not a stage, but the bar or whatever. And he puts his whistle back in his mouth and get back to the party. And I'm like, are you really gonna do this? And that's when she said what she said to me, like, yeah, if he wanted. And I remember her calling me 2 days later and sending me the picture of her hair. And I was like, whoa, you really did it. And from there, I saw that trend take off. So that's all I was saying in that space that I was speaking on.
Very interesting. Sammy, do you mind if I call you Sammy? Would you prefer to be called Salvatore? How do you?
That's good. Sammy's good.
Sammy, well, welcome to Uncensored. You obviously were involved in RICO cases. They were kind of set up to deal with the mafia. Were you surprised when you originally heard they were trying to get Diddy as a RICO case? Were you surprised? Did you feel that was an overreach?
You know, I did a lot of interviews with a lot of people while the case was going on. I didn't follow it too close. But yes, it didn't fit a RICO case. A RICO case is for the mafia. It's an organized crime. There's a boss, an underboss, a list of people with names and what positions they're in and what they're doing to get money and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were reaching with
he
that.
He didn't seem to fit that mold. You know, he had a business and he ran it. And he might have been a little freaky, a little bit with the girls, whatever he did. But I didn't see it as a RICO case, and I thought that was going to destroy it. Most people don't even understand what a RICO case is.
Right.
You're giving it to a juror of 12 people. Probably none of those people understood what a RICO case is, and they took different statements. I'm going to agree with some of the people that you interviewed already, and the guy who's sitting next to you. And a lot of this was consensual, and that's what really blew it out of the water for the defense. It sounded like a win when, you know, you do something violent. Listen, you had a female lawyer talking a little while ago, and she says it's about race, it's about women, it's nothing to do with race or women. There was black, there was white, there was everything. But the point is that when you're having consensual sex, it's a different ball game. It's not that much of a crime anymore. What blew me away is that when she was calling him back after she got beat up and all of this stuff, and told him, when are we going to have the next freak off? When's the next party? Yeah. So she's not a victim to me anymore. She's something that they enjoy doing together in their parties, and they're back and forth. So how do you make her a victim? Because she's just a woman? That's what that other lawyer was saying.
I think that's very interesting, because I think that is what the jury, who were 8 men, 4 women, that is the conclusion they all reached. They clearly did not believe what the 2 women were saying. They did not believe it was non-consensual.
Absolutely. Let me go back with the female lawyer you had on when she said there was men and we don't understand women. That's ridiculous. That's
I agree.
Ridiculous.
Very patronizing.
I have a daughter. I have a granddaughter. I have 4 or 5 women working for me. I know what women are about. To say I don't understand women because I'm a man, that's insane. It's the act. It's not whether he's black or white or a man or a woman. It's about the facts of the case and what went on. I was just saying, he's been at a party. He told her to shave her head. She went ahead and did it. I mean, listen, it's consensual. Now, if I have one of the girls who work for me to tell her shave her head, and she says, no, forget about it, I ain't doing that, and I grab her by the neck and I bring the razor, that's violence.
Yes.
Now she's scared to death.
No, I agree. As we're talking, 50 Cent has given a reaction on Instagram. Diddy beat the feds. That boy is a bad man. Beat the RICO. He's the gay John Gotti. What's your response to that, Sammy?
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. By the way, John Gotti was, for those of you guys that don't know, so he was a former mob boss, and he was the boss over Sam Gravano, who was the underboss, right? And then Sammy later snitched on John Gotti because he was about to take a hit for some crime or something like that. So for 50 Cent to say that, and then Piers blasted out like right in the middle of the interview to a former mob boss, you know, telling him that his former boss is, you know, he's associating him with being gay, and so that was. Let's see how he responds to it, but you know,
No, I don't like the thing. I think he's half gay because of what he meant with women and men, so you could call him gay. John Gotti was not gay. John Gotti beat the government. He was flamboyant. You may not like his style, but to label him as gay.
To be clear, he doesn't call it. I think he's saying he's the gay version of John Gotti, because Gotti, of course, did beat the rap as well. So I think he's making the point that Diddy is the gay version. He's not actually saying John Gotti was gay.
Okay, I understand it a little better now. If that's what they want to call him, that's up to them. All this mudslinging about all of this stuff, whether he's gay, whether he's black, whether he's whatever it is, whatever, that's all bullshit. You have a case. The government screwed up. They hit him with a RICO case. It didn't fit. People didn't understand it. And the evidence was there. Men were on the stand. You had a few men talking, especially the guy sitting right next to me. Talking. They seemed pretty open and honest about it. Doesn't matter if he's black or white. Doesn't matter if he's gay or straight. He's telling you the truth. It sounds like the truth. And the woman basically is saying the same thing. So why would I not believe him? Because he's black?
Yeah, I think bringing his colour into it and the gender thing, I didn't really get all that. Let me bring young Jock back in. You wanted to say something there. You put your hand up, I think.
No, I'm following him. I'm loving what he's saying. But I did have a question, and I wish I could have asked one of the attorneys, but I could ask you guys. You guys are definitely have been around for quite some time and have seen some things. And interestingly enough, Mr. Sammy, as you knowing about RICOs and whatnot, I was wondering, had they not granted immunity to Diddy's so-called co-defendants, then I believe the whole RICO Act could have stuck, because all they had to do was incriminate Cassie alongside with him when she's putting together these freak-offs as well. Like you said, as you just spoke of, Sammy, her coming back after the incident in the hotel and saying, hey, this is that. But when are we going to get back to what we normally do, our regularly scheduled programming with the freak-offs? Now, at that moment, it raised a lot of concerns for me, because I said, I wonder, at that moment, was that the moment she began plotting?
That's a really interesting question. In other words, I do. So, Sammy, I think you understood it very quickly, but what he's saying is that was she basically covering her own potential criminal exposure by going after Diddy the way she did? She then couldn't become herself part of a wider RICO charging.
Right, and you testified. In other words, we used John Gotti. John Gotti got indicted. I was the underboss. I got indicted as well. No matter what I said, I was part of the RICO as well. So you could understand the RICO. Now, there was captains and lower level guys who were in the family. They were all getting indicted. That's RICO. You're after the whole organization. It's not a single person. That's not a RICO.
Exactly.
Not one man. He's not a whole organization.
And do you think maybe, Sammy, that Cassie Ventura, as young Jock is suggesting, she may have seen the way it was all going and thought, I better get in here and protect myself. And if I accuse him and get immunity, I can't then get caught up in any wider charging?
Probably. And then you take, a lot of women now in some of these cases that are coming up. Years ago, you had the Me Too movement. Women had a tough time to survive. Then it changed with the Me Too movement, and then they became more aggressive. Now they come out doing things, and then they want to sue. So it's about money. And then they want to testify and put the guy in prison besides. So you have, from one extreme, we went to another extreme. Because she's a woman, we got to believe her. Even though she was part of the whole thing, she had these love letters and notes. I mean, he didn't, he beat her up one time in the hallway. That was a mistake. He lost his temper. He could have hit her and beat her worse. He was frustrated. He did what he did. That's a crime. He could have been on that one particular crime or certain things, but not everything that they brought against him, and it failed. It failed.
It definitely failed. Young Jock, I interviewed Big Homie a few days ago, and he said this.
I know if he walks, I'm going to be target number one, which is fine. I'm used to that. It's kind of exciting for me.
He left the country, left America, Big Homie. He's Diddy's former bodyguard, because he believes that Diddy may exact some kind of revenge on him. What do you feel about that?
Well, I think that he's worried because maybe he was lying to hurt Diddy.
Right.
And now Diddy's going to get out, and he's got a problem. But the guy you had on just before, he's walking around. He was a government witness. He told the truth. He's not worried about Diddy. This guy, maybe what he said and did, he was lying, and he has a conscience. He's worried about Diddy coming out, and he's got money, and maybe he's worried about his health right now.
Young Jock, what do you think of that?
I definitely can see his concerns. You know what I'm saying? And Sammy, even if let's say he didn't lie. Let's say he didn't lie. The fact that he's given up all of this information, which some of this information is kind of like, what if it wasn't really this bad, but because I'm giving up this particular information, it makes it look that bad. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'll give you a perfect example. If something happened between two adults in a single space, and it's just two adults, it's bad, right? We saw the video where he and Cassie, this fight. Everybody talk about the video. It was bad, right?
And he has done it. He had done it before, just to be clear.
But had a child been present, that would make it even worse, right?
10 times worse.
So what I'm saying is, so Big Homie may have been giving up certain information that made these scenarios appear to be even worse. You know what I'm saying? It's just like right now, if you talked about murder, let's say murder happened at night. You kind of expect it to happen at night. But when people say it happened in broad daylight, it amplifies, it magnifies the whole overall situation. So I think Big Homie probably said some things that may have made situations worse that he didn't have to say, embellishing somewhere. And the moment you embellish the truth, as Sammy said, it's a lie. So I agree with you on that. And I just know that, some people, when you've run with certain people, and you know what they could be capable of, or you realize what they've gotten away with, then you might be in clear and present danger. Not saying Diddy's going to be coming out trying to do anything to anybody. I'm pretty sure right now all he wants to do is get back to his safe place, take a shower in his own tub, get back to his kids, and try to get back to his regularly scheduled programming. But we all know as adults that the regularly scheduled programming will definitely be edited, to say the least.
And also, I would say,
it's not going to be the same thing.
And Young Jock, this is going to have a profound effect, this case, on the whole world of music, isn't it? And in particular, hip hop and rap and everything. Isn't this going to change people's behavior probably irrevocably?
I think so. And I think it's for the better, though, Piers. Let me say this, because for one, I think that you opened the eyes to a lot of possibilities. Now, first and foremost, let's say that. So for one, let's say a guy who's been emulating the same behavior for however long, he ain't seeing nothing wrong with it. Like, man, I'm a boss. I'm not bringing. I like to do freaky stuff with my lady. And when I go to these cities, I can't just have anybody pulling up. So I'm gonna go with someone who I've already taken through a vetting process. We've gotten to know this person. We've done business with them, having issues. So you continue to do business with this person. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, how do we get into a place where it's no longer prostitution or sex trafficking? Because this is the person I like, but I want to make sure they're compensated for their time. Because if you take a woman in and you say, hey, I'm gonna take care of you, and all you gotta do is come and be a kept woman, is that not prostitution or is that constitution? It's associated costs with it. So I think there's a lot of things, and the fact that he wasn't found guilty on those, then this may help in the future, because it kind of comes off like a cheat sheet, because now they don't have this situation of case law that they could reference back to and find people like other celebrities that you spoke of who may be living a kind of similar lifestyle. Right. You fly a chick in, you might not be paying for sex, but there's a cost involved. That's why I said prostitute and not a prostitute.
Yes.
Because if you do it for a fee, then it's professionally done. So it's a pro professional prostitute.
Yes.
If you just do it for a cause, you know, right now, if I take you out to eat, baby, I'm not giving you the money directly
Yeah.
for sex, but if we end up having sex later that night, it's almost like I gave you money for sex indirectly.
Yeah. Sammy, how long do you think Diddy's going to get in prison for? I mean, there's a maximum of 10 years on both counts of bringing prostitutes across state lines. Very unlikely he gets that. What do you think he'll end up with?
But here's what I think is going to happen. I think the judge is going to give him bail. He beat the serious charges. He was in almost a year. He was packing up to turn himself in when they told him he was going to be arrested. The cops jumped the gun and arrested him, so he didn't run the first time. And I think the charges are not that extreme. He deserves bail unless they want to, overdo it because of the publicity. He deserves bail. He'll have some conditions. And I think if the judge gives him bail, they're not going to double up those sentences, like 10 years one, 10 years on the other one, running concurrently. The judge is following the law. He probably won't do that. He may give him a flat 10 on the whole thing. And if he doesn't give him bail, which he deserves right now, then he's probably going to double those 10s up. And he might wind up with 20. That almost tells you what the judge is thinking and what's going to happen, in my opinion.
But could he get a much smaller sentence? I mean, 10's the maximum. Could it be? I mean, it doesn't seem on the face of it that it's a very serious conviction.
But it'll embarrass the judge, the whole country, the legal system. They're going to push for at least a 10 or something like that. They want to get their hunk. They can't walk away. They're already disgraced. They don't want to walk away totally disgraced. And even if he gets 5 or 8 year sentence and he's in a year already, he'll do another 5 or something. And this time when he goes in prison, he's going to be fine. He's going to have guys who want to protect him because he's got money, take care of him, whatever. So he'll be fine all the way around. And but it's up to the judge what he does with this bail.
Right.
He deserves a bail. I think most people would give him a bail. He don't face a lot of time. He's been in the can. He hasn't done anything wrong. The jury spoke, and the charges are bullshit. So he should get bail.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Sammy the Bull and Young Jock. An unusual pairing for a panel on Uncensored, but you were both terrific. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Hey, you made us make friends. I'm going to be singing with him on the next video now.
Hey, be my guest.
I might even
Can't
join
wait.
in. We could probably have a hit on our hands. Thank you both very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man. I mean, that whole, the whole case was really to just humiliate and smear Diddy. And, I'm not saying Diddy's a great person, but what Sammy the Bull was saying was absolutely correct. Like, they took the whole Me Too movement, and now they become like aggressive little domestic terrorists with that stuff. Like I mean, how many people how many celebrities have they went after like the past 5 years? Just absolute bullshit, from Bill Cosby to, and a lot of these guys got, and what was the other guy's name? Johnny Depp, I believe. Yeah, a lot of these women are going after these guys on really mediocre charges, right? And I'm glad. Look, I'm glad. I'm not saying Diddy's a great person, but I'm glad that the charges that she came in with, right, weren't that he wasn't charged with any of that shit, because all that was just bullshit. Let's just be honest here, guys. They had no substantial, no good evidence of anything, and then the majority of the stuff was all consensual. She was just as in on it as much as he was. And they'll start using the excuse like, oh, she was just in love with the guy and he had mind control. Like I've heard like some of these feminazis, bro, on X be like, oh, he had mind control over her and she was in love and she didn't know what to do, and it was her first celebrity crush. And like, that's how unbelievably radical these people are, and they don't want to be held accountable for shit. Like, they're just like, no, we're not accountable for anything that happened. And and obviously they have somebody who put a battery in their back, right? They didn't just one day be like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and go after Diddy for millions of dollars and try to get them locked up and put in jail. Like, they have a battery over their back. They have somebody who's consoling them and, giving them the rundown on what exactly they want out of this whole case. And, Diddy's a well-off individual, and they saw this as an opportunity. I'm glad it didn't work out for them. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't, they should have just charged him. And the fact that she got, she experienced a domestic violence situation, which everybody in America pretty much saw, and she didn't, the following, they had a whole situation where it's like a text messages that she had sent to him and asked him like when the next freak off was and all that. When I saw that, I was like, all right, she's not innocent at all, So, yeah, man, they didn't have a case, and I'm glad, some kind of justice was served, not necessarily for the right person, because Diddy, we've heard other stuff about Diddy that's not so pleasable. But, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, man. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll continue to follow this case here and see what eventually happens.